Good morning. It is the 28th of February. It is the end of summer, and I've just come back from a bit of surgery, so my garden's gone a little bit wild. But I thought we'd do an update and see what we've harvested. I'll put up some pictures through this video, but then also have a look at what I've still got to take advantage of in the garden, and we'll see what's coming up for winter. So I mentioned winter, and we've got some seedlings that are starting out, mostly brassicas. We've got things like peas and onions and stuff like that, which are over in the veggie pod. Next to this, of course, we've got our lemon, which is just coming into a little bit of fruit now. This is the sweet lemon, which was spoken about in the past. Around the garden, lots of dahlias that have been providing a lot of pollination. There is a jalapeno in here, which has, I've got actually heaps of them popping up now. It's taken a while for a lot of the capsicums and jalapeno-related, chili-related plants to fruit, but they've finally gotten there. We've also got this asparagus throwing out lots of little branches, which is great to see. And so this sort of area has finally bloomed out and done really well here as we head into the end of summer. I should say, for those of you playing at home, it does stay warm right now. It's been very muggy. It's been in the mid-20s and extremely high humidity for this time of year, in my opinion. Where it's been somewhere around like 75 to 90% humidity the last few days. So we've had some storms and things like that. But as you can see, pumpkin has been rolling all the way. I'm going to get past the eucalyptus. But pumpkin has not actually done that much besides just spread itself out as it tends to. The one pumpkin I have seen is up there. So there's one up there which seems to be doing relatively well. Other than that, we've had a couple, you can see one there, that have sort of failed. I'm not 100% sure what's been going on with this, but very little fruit. I mean, it's been an extremely dry summer. We've had, I think through January, we had a maximum of 2 millimeters of rain. And then obviously I've been watering, but it means that there's just not been as much growth in some cases. But so pumpkin hasn't done that well. In the veggie pod, we have our candy stripe capsicum, which has been okay. I'm not sure the leaves are meant to look like this, but it has. And they're very small capsicums. As I said, they're not doing too well. And here are some peas that are finally starting to sprout here, which I only actually planted a few days ago, so that's pretty quick. One little thing I've got over here as I move through the jungle of the eucalyptus cassia is a mandarin. So I'm going to pop this in here and have a potted sort of mandarin. I just grabbed this the other day, so I just haven't had time to put that in yet. But one thing I am pretty happy about is all this growth on the eucalyptus cassia. Last year, all these branches that are hanging down here were not here. So these have all come through this last sort of 12 months, which I'm really happy about. I love this plant. I think it's very beautiful with the white bark and then the flowers that come out twice a year. And in fact, the flowers just starting to see the little pods that'll start up, and then probably in a couple of months they'll come through. So that's the courtyard area. Not much out of the raspberries this summer, but that's all right. I'm just happy that they've been growing well, but I'm going to make sure I fertilize them properly next year, and hopefully should get a good crop. Going to start here with the main garden beds. You can see the nasturtiums and some other pollinators have done really well here. Zucchinis, we've gotten heaps of these through the summer. There's even there's a cucumber down there. It's kind of hard to see in the midst of all this. As I said, very jungly. I've had such a large amount of time off that I haven't been able to sort of keep this as clean as I'd like. But these white zucchinis, you can see some of them strewn through the brush here, and these have been really good. I've really liked them. I did not plant them, but they've actually been quite nice to have in some certain meals just to fill out on the vegetable content. So this has been pretty good. This area here, quite productive. And these potatoes have just started to yellow. So this is you can sort of see some of them just being a little bit overgrown there down the bottom, but These have been flourishing, and I was actually expecting to pull them out a lot earlier, but they just kept going. So I'm just going to start to pull them out possibly this weekend, and we'll see how much of a harvest we get from that. As I mentioned, the pumpkin did a lot of growing, but not a lot of showing when it came to its fruit. But that's all right. It is what it is. I'm not too stressed about that. Tomatoes. This is an interesting topic because they have grown quite prolifically, and yes, that is a pumpkin growing up this tree as well. The tomatoes have grown quite prolifically, not fruited that well, but I have gotten a reasonable crop. So, it's been a sort of mixed bag when it comes to tomatoes. Some of them, you can even see some of the beefsteak tomatoes here. These are mortgage lifters, just starting to I expect they'll colour up very soon, but yeah, kind of an interesting summer for the tomatoes. These ones especially got a reasonable crop, and the greenhouse, which we'll have a look at soon, wasn't that great, but I've got some various things that we've learned which we'll implement next time. Orange doing well. This cucumber started finally fruiting. I've gotten several cucumbers off this. In fact, there's one that I completely missed. Look at that guy down there. Completely missed that one. Oh well. So yeah, that's been doing well. Lemons coming up. Banana has been, or all the bananas I should say, have been popping off with their little tomato friends down here. Now, I never actually intended for these tomatoes to go as nuts as this, but as I said, being unavailable to tend to the garden a little bit, but then also I don't know, they just kind of went a bit nuts, and they are a vining plant, or sort of semi-vining plant, but never expected all this, so that's pretty cool. But banana's doing well. I expect when the weather starts to cool down in the coming probably months. At this point, we're still quite warm at the moment for this area. The bananas will start to cool down and disappear as we get into winter. Now, in the main beds, cleared out this section. Lots of lettuce and other sorts of things were harvested from here. Got rid of the snapdragons, and one thing I have done is implemented this little bucket technique for composting. So we've now got these holes in the buckets, and what the idea is that you fill this up with a bit of compost, and this almost becomes like an in-bed composting system. Now you can sort of see how dry the soil is here as the ants go marching. I'm not sure if you can see that, but anyway, 2 of these per bed. The idea is that the worms get in there, start to harvest things, and then as the worms process things inside this miniature compost tub bucket thing, it'll start to spread out some of that nutrients through the nearby soil. So this is just a little bit of a test, but we'll see how it goes. One thing that did do really well over here, and in fact, as I said, I haven't been able to tend to the garden, is this the pak choi over here. Absolutely nuts, already seeding, which I was a bit surprised and a bit annoyed about, but it is what it is. What can you do? And obviously some basil strewn in there as well, which I've got to get out here and harvest a lot of stuff. But we'll move over to the secondary bed over here. And this is where we've got a lot of capsicums and chilies and things. There's the odd, there's a weed there, which I've got to get rid of. But there are some of those jalapenos down there. A couple of capsicums should be strewn about here. I'm not exactly sure, but I'll find them. And so this bed starting to do well, but it is falling off. This is where we had the spinach. I actually intentionally left this here so I could harvest some of these seeds, so we'll pull them all out. We had a heap of really good sized beetroot from this bed, and in fact, there you go, there's another example of one there. Some of it being eaten by some slaters or wood lice, depending on what you call them. But we got really good beetroot content out of this particular area, which I was really happy about. And obviously there's a lettuce which I've let go. See a few lettuce popping up around the garden as well. So that's the main beds and what we've had going on so far in summer. and let's head over to the other areas. So not my finest moment, but this is exactly the same sort of setup that we had in previous years, where I had a few tomatoes here and they've unfortunately gone a bit wild, but it is a good thing because I can see some that I will be able to pick off and let them ripen. So yeah, this bed is always fantastic. This is where we had some onions. I'll pop up a picture on the screen of what those ended up being. Heaps of red onions, heaps of brown onions as well. I'm just curing them in the garage as we speak. But yeah, this bed does quite well. Garlic will be in here next. And the one thing I have done over to the side, because this is the window to my partner's office, and I put in some much more of the flowering kind of content here. So you can see more of these dahlias. There's beautiful colors of the reds and the purples, the sort of pastel yellows and oranges and pinks up the back there as well. So this is done really well. Never really intended to go this nuts, but it does look quite nice. So pretty happy with how this has gone. And we did get a lot of beans and also some green beans, as you can see here, which again I've failed to harvest because I've been just a bit unavailable to do so. But yeah, so that's that. What I like to call the primary bed, because it does really, really well. You'll see, I can't remember if I mentioned on the last video, but I did move the avocados over to the other side. So they're actually in the ground now. They're doing okay, but I wouldn't say they're flourishing just yet. But we'll see what happens in winter, which is obviously their primary months, for a bit less action there. Now the greenhouse. Let's talk about this. So, this door doesn't move very well. Greenhouses, the tomatoes in here did really well, the actual plants themselves, and you can see some of the actual ripened fruit as well. But this has only happened. So firstly, I know everything in here is dead, but this is partly intentional, partly because I was unable to tend to the garden, but partly because I just sort of I had a little bit of a fit when it came to the tomatoes, in that they weren't ripening. They just flat out were not ripening. It got nice and warm in here, lots of sun, all that kind of stuff, and nothing really happened. So I kind of got over it and chuck a hissy fit, I guess you'd say. But in any case, we did actually harvest a good amount of tomatoes in here. Not necessarily the greatest of sizes, but it is what it is. We got lots of these Romas, which were really, really beautiful. So it's done okay. There's things that I've learnt regarding fertilization, and also just a few watering techniques which I want to use. But next year, what my intent is that this area will be a raised bed. Because as you can see, I initially started out with stringing them up, but the string always broke, and so I had to stake them in the end. So I'm going to look towards putting in a raised bed in here. We'll pop obviously some wood and such on the bottom, do a bit of hugelkultur in the bottom of the bed, and then build it up. So I'm not sure if we'll actually do tomatoes in here again, but we'll see what happens. You're probably wondering about the watermelon. Sweet baby watermelon did okay. We had 2 or 3 of sort of this size. So what would you say? This is, I mean, that's my hand. So it's like nice hand size, but they never really ripen properly. I read, this is the first time doing watermelons, so I've read that they need an absolute mountain of water, an ocean, if you will, and that might be why. That the actual fruit didn't ripen up properly. So it is what it is. You win some, you lose some, you learn a bit, and we'll see what happens if I do something similar next summer. But obviously the curry's doing surprisingly well lately. Lots of new fruit on here, lots of new stems on here, and then a little bit of the seed action going on as well. So we'll we'll see what happens in winter. I might try a few new things in here. We'll get the seedlings going in here as well, and try and grow a few things that perhaps are normally not growable in winter here in my area. And yeah, we'll see what goes on in the greenhouse in the coming months. But yeah, that's the the garden for now. There's Ted, he's come to do a bit of an inspection himself. And yeah, hope you've enjoyed this update. We did get some corn out the front, which I'll put a picture of on screen. And that front garden is also going to turn into peas very soon. So that's what the outlook is for the garden and how we've gone this summer. Hope you've enjoyed. Thanks for watching.